lot of problems which we have been dealt with, along with issues like NIOT and ITMA. So I'll just proceed with some of the few things. One is, see what exactly is meant by planned and unplanned is self-explanatory from this file, from this slide. So if you don't have a kind of a regulation, etc., this is what the top one, that is the situation which we are going to land in. So what I would like to focus is the coastal problems along the Indian coast. Major problems, I would say, are along the east coast, not that we are not having much of problems along the west coast. So the kind of problems are silting up of entrance channels, closing of river mouths, entrance channels for harbors. Then problems concerning aquaculture, we don't have much of aquaculture now these days. Then silting up of intake structures. Then finally, the most vulnerable thing is the erosion along the coast. So I would like to organize my presentation as shown here, options of soft and hard measures, case studies proposed. I have removed some of the states here because of shortage of time. So I will just focus on West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Kerala, Gujarat. Gujarat I think I am not going to cover. The reason why I have chosen these states is not because I have an affinity towards these states, but each of the case study is slightly different from the other case study, so that we have a different flavor for each of the problem and the solution. So the kind of coastal problem which we may have is quite devastating. And the protection measures, I am not going into the reasons for the coastal erosion because that might have some, I think I might be touching on the reasons. But when you have coastal erosion, these are the broadly classified measures. One is the hard measures and the other is the soft measures. When you look at the hard measures, we have to play with the kind of structures which I have shown there. One is the groin field, wherein the structures jet into the coast. Thank you. Wherein the structures jet into the ocean from the shoreline, and it is spaced between certain interval, and then you have the seawall, which is sometimes you see that it is becoming a real eyesore for us. For example, Kerala coast length of about 500 kilometers, nearly 380 kilometers have been dumped with seawalls. So you really lose your valuable beach. Then you have the other one is the offshore detached breakwater, which promotes beaches as shown here, and even the groin field promotes beaches. None of them are innovative solutions. They are all solutions existing for centuries. And the other one is the soft measure. You just dump the sand which is getting accumulated at one particular area and then just shift it to the area which is starving for sediments. That is artificial nourishment. The tsunami has added a new dimension, that is plantation. Plantations have proved to be excellent barriers against the inundation of coastal hazards like your tsunami. So these are broadly classified solutions we have. So I'll just let us look into one by one. The grinds, or as I said, there is no innovation here. So the oldest grind that exists is in 1503. It is still existing. And some of the grind field is in Florida protecting the coast. An entire island in northern Germany is protecting the coast. And then when you have a river opened to the ocean, and then you have the ships connected between the harbor and your ocean, then this kind of situation is called as the approach channel, and the kind of structures we have is referred to as jetties. Suppose if you don't have the harbor and it is just a structure which is constructed to protect it by siltation, from siltation, then they are called as, referred to as training walls. Although the structure looks almost similar, but they have the different names. And this structure is almost similar to this, but they are called as groin field because they serve as a protection measure against erosion. So as I said, offshore detached breakwater, these are classical examples where they have constructed elsewhere. So for example, Danish coast, this is somewhere in Italy. So, but these are not that popular in India because for a simple reason, it's quite expensive. When you look at the artificial beach, so you just nourish the beach before putting the sand, pumping the sand along the eroding coast, and after you have dumped the sand. This is how you can have the kind of a situation, which I will be illustrating with this kind of a solution for Pondicherry coast. So what exactly is happening? Well, the waves are approaching the coast along the coast. So you have a kind of current moving along the shoreline. So these currents try to move the sediments. When there is a continuous movement of the sand, and you try to put a structure, you are trying to block from free passage. For example, so if you put a groin, for example, like this, so you look at how these currents are diverted, and you see how the beach is being formed here. You can see you can see a kind of an erosion taking place on the downdrift side, whereas on the updrift side you see the advancement of the beach. So this over a few years you will see that whatever has been lost can be gained, and you can win the beach instead of just doing defending a kind of a job. You try to be kind of offensive and try to win the beach. So this is how you have. Now you have jetties, for example. Then in that case the current gets diverted here, and you see the building up of the shore. So this is how one side you have advancement of the shoreline. On other side you see the erosion of the shoreline. So wherever you have erosion, you can have the groin field well planned. Then you can probably come up with a kind of a solution where you can where the solution can result in a stable coast. Suppose have a breakwater, as you can see here. So this is going to allow the beach to form as shown here, and then ultimately this shoreline can even touch the breakwater. So these there are some number of, I have already shown you a kind of a picture earlier about the Danish coast, how the offshore detached breakwaters can perform. So this being a basic information, kind of you must be knowing to some extent what happens when you put the structures. So this is the Diga beach, which is very important for West Bengal. This is the kind of situation they had along the coast. They used to have a locally made what is called as referred to as balas. Even today, certain parts of the coast along our Indian coast, you have this kind of exercise, which is not correct because there is no scientific background to this. So they fear that this can act as a barrier from the ocean waves. So what is happening is you can have the waves running behind the structure, and it can create havoc. So how did we go about this? We didn't want to put any kind of stones because that is the only big beach tourist attraction, and the local people are also interested in having a beach for themselves. So we have a geotubes, that is one you see here, and below that there is another, and then you have another geotube here. So these geotubes are synthetic material. It comes in 20 meters length. You just pump sand inside, both sand and slurry, so it will allow the water to go and retain the sand. So it serves something like a sausage, and it is a kind of, and if you have what is called as a geomat over it, then that will promote even the plantation. So in which case you are protecting the coast without any problem. And now this is the completed portion of the beach. I mean the area, this was the initial one, and now you look at the final completed portion of the beach. But there are some vandalisms, as you can see here, because this attracts people for punching, so with a knife, trying to play all kinds of tricks. So this is one problem which I don't know under what regulation it can come under. We always talk about CRZ. Now this is some regulation which we need to think of. The other thing is Upada, where we have done a project. So Upada is in this coast which is experiencing vulnerable erosion. So here again, we didn't want to dump stones. So now the exercise is stop dumping stones as far as possible, but you cannot escape totally. So here again, you see that this is the kind of a sausage which I was mentioning earlier, and then these are all small size geobags. These are coming like cement bags. So we fill in sand. So it acts as a cushion, and then you have what is called as gabions. This comes in Netlon kind of boxes. We can put stones inside, small stones, and then cover it. And over it, we have another cover which is shown here. So this is the cross section which we have implemented, and with this has withstood several monsoons. And this was done as a pilot project in I think about 2-3 years back, and now the pilot project for about I think 400 meters, 800 meters. So probably they are going to do it for continue this process for another 2 kilometers. Now this is a classical example along Chennai coast. You must be knowing the Chennai harbour in existence right from 1870s or so. So what are the positive problems and negative problems? The positive is the port itself getting revenue, employment, etc. But then you see that there is a river which is now acting as a source of disposing all your effluent. So free and fair for everyone. So that is what is happening. But the problem is, even if you dump some of the sewage, it has to go somewhere. It doesn't go somewhere because when the sand is moving along the coast, so these breakwaters, the structures which are there lying for the sake of the harbour, that is blocking the sand, and then you have the deposition taking place here and the closure of this river mouth, and then you have the problems with the stagnant pool of water inside the Kua. We have been talking about this for more than 5-6 decades, and this has also resulted in erosion. Please recollect the first slide when I explained, earlier slide wherein I explained the physical phenomena what happens. So now this is the area which has been eroding and which we needed to control. So this is a scenario, this was a scenario, and that was in existence for nearly 4 decades. So an important highway is also cut. This highway was there, and I still remember that there was about 300 meters of sand. Now it's all gone. Now the road also is under threat. So this is the time when it was referred to us, and then this is another picture where you see a temple about to follow, and it has gone inside. You can no longer see this temple. And this is the area, this is the Chennai harbour, and then you have another harbour which is coming up, which has come up here, Ennur harbour. So in between, this is the area which has been experiencing erosion. When you talk about coastal zone management or coastal regulation or whatever it is, integrated coastal zone management, this is the area which can show you a variety of problems within this 20-25 kilometers. What are the problems you can have? For example, here, the interaction between 2 ports, the erosion taking place here. And down below this, you have a river mouth, closer of river mouth. On the further north, you have the Pulicat lake. So that is having a problem. So all this variety of problems can be seen here. So this is what we have done is, in order to combat this erosion, we suggested this kind of groins. This is 6 in number and this is 4 in number. And after a lot of debate, objections from several quarters, because when you come up with a solution, it is not accepted, because they said that when you want to have, already when there is an erosion area taking place, when erosion is taking place, why you want to have groins? This is further going to accelerate. We said no, it is not going to accelerate. With a lot of debate, then we started constructing. So you look at what are the developments. The area which could not be approached by anyone, the moment you go to the shoreline, the depth of water was something like more than 2-3 meters. So now you see the kind of beach we have got. So we also, most important, in the morning also someone was telling about not regulations, not the management principle, it is the policing. the implementation, that is which is very, very important. When you exercise your thing, all the rules are there, but we know that this has not to be done. Okay, you give the permission for your construction, but is there anyone who is monitoring this? So that is a big question which is lacking. So here, in this exercise, we wanted to have from a research point of view, we wanted to do the monitoring. Now you see what is happening here. You look at follow the dates. 18th of August 2004, we had an area of about 4,000. That increased in within 2 weeks to 7,000, and that further increased to 8,800. But then it was lost by about 50%. Then we were a bit worried, and then we looked at further, we continued the monitoring, then we saw that whatever sand was lost again was brought back, which is mainly because of the tsunami. The tsunami took away the beach, made it, built up a kind of a sand mound or a sandbar, which was again brought back to the ocean. Sometimes there are certain problems where you have erosion, but you have to wait and watch. So the first principle in case of erosion is do nothing, and then only you have to consider all other options. This is the kind of satellite imagery that can that gives you the kind of. So I will just go to this area. How some of the protection measures which we have given has helped in not only protecting the coast but also helped in the livelihood of the local fishing community. For example, this was the stage before restoration. This was done on a war footing, and then this is the stretch of the coast where we went in for this kind of a brine field, and some of these brines at that time we did not have much of problems because the state was given less than 5 crores they used to approve. But so that time we had all these things done without any problem, no entrance, nothing. And in fact, some of the brines we looked at the site, and when we saw that there was a huge outcrop here. So you cannot stop the brine in front of the outcrop. And you need not have, for that if you wait for the permission, I don't think you will be succeeding. So what we did took a on-spot decision to join this, because original design was not envisaged like that. So we joined. Now you see the kind of the erosion which I have shown you earlier. You see that the beaches are formed, and not only that, it has helped the people to go up and down, so for relaxing here. And not only that, this has been serving as a fish landing facility all over the stretch of this coast of about 3-4 kilometers. So, and also during the tsunami, this area was not affected at all, because the sandbar was really forming a barrier, and which reduced the inundation and so this groins during the tsunami, the post-tsunami period, there was a great demand from all the coastal communities. So whatever solution we suggest, they say we need this. But you cannot put the groins for all the places. There are certain places where you need to look at it carefully. There are other problems. This is the area which was constructed by groin field. But there is no sand coming here, only erosion taking place. So when there is no sand coming here, putting the groins is not going to be of any use. So this did not serve any purpose for this coastal community. But during the tsunami, this was very badly hit. And under the tsunami rehabilitation scheme, they did get some funds. And one thing is, when soon after the tsunami, how much you can dump in? What is the kind of benefit you get? So the tsunami is not going to come. No one knows when the tsunami is going to come. But whatever you want to invest, it has to have some kind of a justification. So what we did is, one of the groins we extended up to offshore, because this is what they do abroad. So particularly in Japan. So what we did is, we extended this all the way here for about, I think this is something like 400 meters, and raised the top level. So that created a lot of boats, and this is now serving as an excellent small fishing harbor. Coming to the river modes. So here you see that the sand completely blocked, and so the sandbar completely blocking the exchange of seawater and fresh water. The importance of exchange of sea and fresh water was brought up by Dr. Ramchandra in the morning, an excellent lecture where he brought, and there was a question about the tidal ingress also. So the tidal ingress really helps. So if you don't repair this, you are in for trouble. So this is, again, this was taken up under the tsunami rehabilitation scheme, wherein you see that 2 groins have been constructed. These are now referred to as training walls, and you see the exchange of seawater and fresh water, and that has given a lot of revenue also for the local people. Now we move on to Pondicherry, where we have adopted artificial beach nourishment. So you see the Pondicherry coast is looking like this. You have a breakwater here and a breakwater here. Sand always moves from in this direction. So from in this direction. When it moves in this direction, you see the advancement of the shoreline and you see the erosion taking place. There is a submerged tunnel. In which you have a pipe here. This was envisaged in the original proposal in mid-70s, but completely forgotten. When we looked at the reports and we could excavate and find out that there was a tunnel here, and that tunnel, with the help of a pump, we tried to pump this sand, because this is a barren land, no man's land, because it's all forest and no one is staying here. So this beach is not of any use. So this beach sand was taken and dumped here. And what was the result? So we also used the GIS, satellite imageries, etc. to assess the quantity of sands, etc., which I am not going to go into the details. So you see that this sand bypassing was done in October 2002, and then you see that these are all the pipes, and the sand was, the submerged tunnel was used, and the sand was pumped. When after this we continued the monitoring, we could see the difference in both due to bypassing. So this is the famous Gandhi statue of Pondicherry, and you see the beach one. And let me show other locations also. So this is the same location after the sand bypassing. This is what happened. So that is a story about Pondicherry on artificial beach nourishment. So we have proved that it works. Now we move on to Kerala to just show you some of the. So in Kerala, but many locations you cannot go in for groin field because there's not much of sand moving in the along the shore. So we went in for seawalls. Seawalls earlier, it was non-scientific, just like that, dumping stones. So now what we have done is we have refined the entire design of a seawall. So use smaller stones and then adopt some geosynthetic material which are eco-friendly. And now, for example, you see all these things. These are all called as gabions, which I have already told you with the help of one earlier slide wherein you have, it is something like a Netlon cube. You have stones in that and smaller ones. So this is the kind of a typical seawall. And now in a location, this is a site specific. For example, if you have a cliff like this and you have a beach, conservation of beach is also extremely important. And also this could be probably developed as a tourist spot. In order to do that, we had suggested eco-friendly geotube submerged as shown here, and this will enhance the beach formation here, and that will improve the tourism, and that is going to, you have all the advantages of having a beach there. So this project is yet to be taken up. So this is another kind of a seawall which we have done. Now coming to role of vegetation. So role of vegetation, so this is a clear example that the vegetation really played an important role in protecting some of the buildings on its lee side. And the design parameters are the questions of the green belt, which is referred to, this is referred to as a green belt. So you see the spacing between the trees, the diameter of the stem, as well as the width of the green belt. These are the main parameters apart from the flow characteristics. So we try to model this in the lab, and we consider two kinds of structures or the configurations, and all the parameters. I would not go into the detailed thing. I will make the PDF file available to Dr. Kumar, and then probably you can circulate. So I will just skip because of want of time, but you see some of the parameters are explained there. I hope this video works. So now you see this is the lab experiment where you see because of the stems, the plantations which we have modeled, reduces the head. So this has proved that it is working all right, and not only that, the transverse oscillation of the stems also play a very important role. And as you can see in this picture, you see the transverse oscillation, the flow is in this direction, but this transverse oscillation also play an important role, and then we have come up with some kind of a design calculation. So with this, I have given you an overview of the options for protecting the coast against erosion, and also a few case studies were discussed in a brief. And what is vulnerable is, in the case of tsunami, is a flat beach. Locations where you have a flat beach, this animation is quite self-explanatory. I will not go into the details. And with this, I thank the authorities again.